Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, well, I'm here at the same time I'm always on the road, and it is dark outside. Quite nice. I actually like leaving the house when it's dark, to be honest with you. Because at some point the sun's going to come up. I like beating the sun. I don't like the sun beating me. Okay? I like to have, like, all of my day, right? From the beginning to the end. Alright, so, happy Monday, everyone. I think St. Patrick's Day is somewhere around the corner. I'm wearing green today, so I wasn't sure if I should wear it today or wait. I wasn't sure what's, let's see, 13, 14, wait, is today 13? 13. I think today's the 13th. 13, 14, 15, 16, 7. Wait, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Oh, it's Friday. St. Patty's Day is Friday. Well, I guess I have to find something else to wear that's green. Maybe I just wear my Moldavite. Yes, Moldavite. For those who do not know what the Moldavite is, look it up. It's fun. It's a cool stone. Alright, so like I said, good morning Kelly, good morning Janine, good morning Jamila. Did I say Jamila? I don't know. Jamila, Victoria, Alicia. Gosh, there's so many names with the N, with the letter A at the end. Let's see. So today I wanted to talk about thanking people who have hurt you. And so that is what I'm going to talk about today. Yeah, thanking people who have hurt you. That's a hard one. It can be a hard one. I came to this realization, I would say, maybe 2 years ago. Thanking people who have hurt me. And this was all intellectual. It had nothing to do with emotions whatsoever. However, that was the beginning of some bigger, better things, is honoring those who have hurt you. Because when you acknowledge that someone has hurt you, there's a lesson in everything that you experience. But here's the thing. When I was realizing this, and I was thanking people who have betrayed me and hurt me and caused me pain, it helped me realize different things that before I was holding judgment or resentment, whereas now I don't hold that stuff. Now there's another part to that, which is emotionally dealing with it. I haven't got there quite yet with all the things. However, I have been intellectualizing it, and so it's really important to honor those who hurt you. And I'll go into why that is. And I'm going to start with the soul. So, we are all souls. That's what we are. We're not anything else but souls. We're living an illusion in this physical body for the soul to have a physical experience. And so one has to understand that the person who hurt you is no different than you. At some point, you have hurt someone else. And so you're no different than the person who hurt you. You really aren't. We're all the same. Going through this journey just like everybody else. Having good times and bad times. And so to hold someone in judgment is only hurting ourselves, for number one. But number two, when someone hurts us, they're actually responding to us. So the universe, if you want to call it the universe, we can call it so many different things. We can say that that law of attraction is responding to what's in us, which is really what's happening. So we have something that's within us. We have a bunch of emotional injuries that we have created on our own. We have emotional injuries that we have gotten from our parents, both our mother and father. So we have all these injuries that are within our soul. And so these injuries are not supposed to be there. They're supposed to be experienced. They're supposed to be processed. Like if you feel pain in that moment, you're supposed to embrace that pain. Not embrace it like accept it, but accept it in a way where you're able to let it flow. You feel the pain, you feel the hurt, you cry, or whatever you need to do to get it out, and so that it's no longer residing within you. Well, the thing is, when people hurt us, they're showing us what's inside of us. That's what they're doing. The universe is not going to bring about someone who cannot deliver that. So someone who is vibrating at a level that matches our emotional injury is put before us. That's what's happening. So a lot of times you have individuals who are constantly experiencing negative experiences, and the universe is bringing these people to you because it's there to show you what's dwelling within your soul. So if you only had nice experiences and you had all these injuries within yourself, there's no way you can truly be happy at a soul level. On a surface level, yes, you might be able to have some joy, but true happiness, true love, true joy cannot be had unless your emotional injuries are removed, which makes it impossible to be around people who are opposite of what you're holding within you. Now, you can pretend to be a certain way, but that means that you're not being truthful, you're not being authentic. So, yes, we can pretend and put on a facade so that we interact with people who are positive, but that charade cannot last forever. It has to come down at some point. And the reason why is because no matter how positive you try to be and interact with other positive people, you're still going to interact with people who you consider a-holes or jerks or whatever you want to call them, that are irritating you, annoying you, pissing you off, making you sad, doing things that make you want to hurt somebody or hurt them or even hurt yourselves or check out. All of these things will come to you no matter what. So there's really no way to escape it. So when someone hurts you, thank them, because on a soul level, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which is bringing to your attention something that's dwelling within you. And that's the only way you're going to that's the only way we can recognize what's wrong with us for the most part, because we create a facade. We don't acknowledge what's really hurting us, so it takes another person to bring it out. So if someone irritates you and you just can't stand it, like every time I'm around that person, they just piss me off. Well, they're supposed to piss you off. And there's no way that you cannot get pissed off, because that which dwells inside you is responding to that person. That person is triggering something that's in you. But you'll never know it's there in order to release it if they didn't interact with you in that way. And sometimes they don't even have to do anything. It's just our perception about that person. And we trigger ourselves most often than not. So, like really, like you can have a dislike for someone, and because they've done something to you or said something about you, however the interaction has taken place, when you come into, let's say, their space, like you're going to a party and this person you just can't stand is there, and you just start having these thoughts, having these negative feelings towards this person, and perhaps even say something to them. They don't even have to say anything to you, but it's bubbling inside. that's an indication that something is going on within you and it needs to be addressed. So thank these people, truly thank them, because they give you the opportunity to overcome this, to process this, to recognize that there's something within you that needs addressing. Now, when we have, well, I should say, in our society today, we don't acknowledge anything. One, because we don't want to feel the pain. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of sadness that dwells within us because we have suppressed it for so long. Our parents have suppressed it. Our grandparents have suppressed it. Just think about the old school marriages where the wife knew that the husband was cheating, but she didn't say anything because in her mind, she wanted to keep the family together, or she wanted to maintain the financial support. Now, I used to hear this and it used to blow my mind. Like, why would you want to stay with someone if you know that there isn't any love there? That blew me away as a kid because obviously, okay, so, you know, I was raised by my mother, single parent, and so, of course, you know, she had her girlfriends and, you know, they would talk and, you know, all these different things, and so I would hear all these, like, there's people that I know, like, older people, obviously, because I was a child, that, you know, they just had this, you know, marriage that was like, it was secret. What was really happening in their life was secret, but what they presented to the outside world was something completely different. And so, we're talking like they didn't sleep in the same bed, and the woman said nothing. Absolutely nothing. So imagine the pain that the wife felt during her life or her marriage with this man. I mean, that's a lot to suppress, to not acknowledge and just live through it and just say it was for the sake of the family. Well, she's sacrificing so much of herself, not honoring herself, not loving herself. Just think of how it affected the children. Because children know when there's no love present. Oh, they know. You may not say anything and you don't have to, but children are very intuitive. They know when something's not right. So just think of like how this passes on generation after generation after generation. Like it's passed on through the soul at conception. So you automatically, or we all automatically get all this junk. So there's things that we have to deal with that we're not even responsible for. Like it had nothing to do with us, but it does because it's in us now. And so now we have to address it because our parents and grandparents and great-greats and great-great-greats, they didn't deal with it. They didn't deal with it. They didn't know how to deal with it. They didn't want to deal with it. Mainly is they didn't want to deal with it because it's easier to, depending on what their fear is, really. It really depends on what the person's fear is that will determine whether or not they address their true emotions or not. And so if the fear is greater in terms of financial support, then they won't address it. If the fear is greater in terms of what people may think, then they won't address it. So there's, like I said, there's many reasons why people will not address their true emotions. But it's so important to acknowledge these people who cause us pain. Because we cannot experience something if it's not within us. It's impossible. It is absolutely impossible. You cannot experience something if it's not within you. It has to be within you in order for you to attract it. The law of attraction cannot bring you something if it's not within you. It doesn't matter. If it's a desire or emotional injury, it cannot deliver anything to you at all unless it's within you. So, let's see. Yeah. So thank them. I thank people not like to their face. I didn't thank them to their face. That's not what I'm saying. That would cause some problems. I want to thank you for being a jerk. I want to thank you for hurting me. I want to thank you for not caring. I want to thank you for treating me so badly. Yeah, that's not going to go for too well. And you don't have to do it in person. You don't have to do it in an email, over the phone, or a text. Just to yourself, thank them, acknowledge what they've helped you see. That's if you can see it, because look, if you're not in a state of consciousness where you're able to see this, then you won't see it. And what I'm saying makes no sense to you. I already know it, and it's okay if you're in that space. Hopefully you'll get to the space where you can understand that, because it will release you from a lot of judgment. Once you can learn a lesson and say, wow, you know, I see why such and such happened. I see why this happened. I see why that happened. You know, just gives you a greater perspective in terms of who you are and your parents and your grandparents. And that's the thing, is once you start to realize and see these things, these experiences, you start to understand your parents even more. And you can see their life. You can see their life. Things that you couldn't see before, you'll start to see. And it's really cool. It's really cool. Like, since I've been accepting some of the things that have happened to me, I have understood a lot of my mother's life, even more. Things that I didn't really see in the past, things that I didn't know show up. Like, there's clarity in terms of things that I didn't know. Like I understood certain things happen, but I wasn't clear as to why. And so when I start noticing or acknowledging the things that I've experienced, I'm like, okay. Because I personally can determine or decipher what are my emotional injuries and which ones were my mother's or my father's. Now my father's is much more difficult, because I didn't meet him until last year, and it was only for 7 days, and then he died. So there wasn't a lot of information that I didn't get any information from him because he couldn't talk. So he was literally on his deathbed. So we didn't have any conversation. But when I saw my father, I saw a lot of myself in him, and it was the weirdest thing to see him for the first time. Like, he was in hospice. So when when you turn the corner, you know how they're like, they have the curtains, and I came across, he was sleeping, and I just stood there and I just looked at him. I was like, wow. Like, there was just so much resemblance, and I could see the things that were consequences to his actions. I can see those in myself just by looking at him. And I already knew. So I already knew some of the things that were happening to me came from him. And so I was like, oh, whoa, that's deep. Like, I mean, for me to, like, not know my father for what, 30, was it last year that I met him, or 2015? Could have been 2015. So 37? I think I was 37. Could have been 38. But I was like really blown away, like, for not knowing anything about this man. Like, you know, and let me be clear that my mother has always offered to look him up if I wanted to, but I never had the desire. One, because they divorced when I was 2, so I didn't have him to begin with. So it wasn't like I was missing something. You can't miss something you never had. But I was curious at times, and my curiosity peaked after my mother died. And this was probably about 2007. I started wanting to know more about him, and so I tried to reach out or find him, but I just couldn't do it. Or I should say, I was unsuccessful. But anyway, the powers that be made sure that it happened, and it did. And so, but when I saw him, like I said, there was so much. I realized that I was following in his footsteps in so many different ways, and it blew my mind. I was like, whoa, that's That's deep. It's really deep though. That's, you know, and it wasn't even, I didn't even have the clarity that I have today as I make this video, because there's certain things that I've learned since then that has allowed me to have even more clarity than just the surface stuff that I was noticing. So it is very important to, again, thank these people who hurt you, because they are showing. If you ever get angry for any reason, that is something that needs to be addressed quickly, whatever it is. Analyze it. I mean, you have to deal with it on an emotional level, on an emotional level. However, if you have to intellectualize it first, then do it. If that's the only way that you can start processing this stuff, then intellectualize it. Understand it in your head first, and then move forward with the emotional aspect of releasing whatever it is that's within you. That's how, look, I'm a very intellectual person. I don't live in my heart. I had to close that off when I was young. So I don't come from the heart right away. I understand things, but when it comes to myself, the heart's closed. Because there's emotional injuries that are there that I'm not ready to deal with or willing to deal with. I haven't figured that one out yet, because I won't even go there on some things. But there are some things that that I have been able to process, but I intellectualize it first. But I try not to stay there, because it's one thing to walk around and say, yeah, I understand, but it doesn't matter whether or not you understand if you can't do anything about it. And you can't do anything about it intellectually. It is soul-based, meaning it is heart-based, meaning it is emotionally based. You cannot deal with this in the head. You can understand it in the head, but you can't deal with it in the head. So, yeah. So that's that. There was something else I wanted to oh, so this is part of it. So, in the past, I've talked about, like, well, I'm not close to my family on my mom's side, for many different reasons. Mainly, it was just the way I was treated. And so, I was basically removed from them. I didn't grow up. I mean, I was there when my mother went over to my grandmother's house, and, you know, there's an aunt that, I mean, I know who they are, but we're not close. I'll just put it that way. So, but I noticed something. When I was removed, and I keep saying removed, however, I have to understand that law of attraction was doing something. Law of attraction was doing something. Law of attraction removed me from that which I was not. Did you hear that? Law of attraction removed me from that which I was not. I didn't grow up being, well, I should say, when I was young or a kid, I wasn't a hateful person. I didn't, that's not who I was. I received some hate from family members, but I myself was not a hateful person. Like, I didn't get joy making fun of people. I didn't get that kind of stuff. That wasn't who I was. So I used to, be sad as a kid because I wasn't included in a lot of things with, like, my cousins and whatnot. But these were the very people who were inflicting pain upon me. And so, for a while, I was removed from that. And so, even though, and here's the thing. Intellectually, I thought, I'm not wanted. And that's how I felt. I felt slighted. I felt neglected. However, I couldn't even be around that because that's not what I was. And I didn't understand that until later. And it's so interesting to even talk about it, because now I see, like, if you knew anything about my family, oh my gosh. Like, I used to hear so many judgments about my brother. So, like, in an earlier video, I had mentioned that my brother was on drugs and things like that. And they used to make fun of him to me. Like, they used to talk about him to me. Like, oh, your brother's a crackhead and your brother's this and, you know, whatever. They just used to say all kinds of stuff, right? And it would hurt because it was like, you know, I don't know. How else am I supposed to take it? You know, so, but it's interesting because all the things that they were saying, someone got that in return. Like, that ended up being their life. And when I see it, I was like, dang, like, the main one that kept judging him for who he was at that time, that's what they ended up receiving or experiencing themselves. And it was quite sad, quite sad. And there's some other things that were, there were just some things that were said that were like, see, we weren't supposed to ever, when I say we, I mean my mother's kids. We were never supposed to amount to anything because we were mixed with black. Like, that was just it. That was the understanding. And so, the fact that myself and my sister and, you know, whatnot, you know, we're doing fine. There was some hatred because of that. And so, besides the initial judgment, there was judgment afterwards. You know, I remember when I had went to visit a family member, and I had rented a car, and I had rented a Cadillac. And so I, you know, put up in a Cadillac, and the first thing that was said to me was, "You're dealing drugs, aren't you?" Like, really? This because they had to believe this. They had to believe that I was doing something illegal in order to be, or to have something. Like, this was their belief. But this belief is what was said to us growing up. And I don't deal drugs. I've never done drugs. It's not my thing. So it was, you know, I said, no. And they were like, yeah, you're dealing drugs. And so they really had to believe that. And I guess they wanted me to admit it, but I couldn't admit to something I wasn't doing. So, so I couldn't. But it's really interesting because these are the people who were judging my brother, you know, for his lifestyle or where he was in his life, I should say. And these are the individuals that dabble in that stuff and hooked on it. And it's just amazing how it's like people have to convince themselves that someone else is doing worse in order to make themselves feel better. So they have to put down someone else in order to make themselves feel good. And I get it. I didn't get it as a kid, obviously. I don't think most children do. But as an adult, I get it. But what I have to process is how I felt when those things were said. How it felt when those things were meant the way that they were meant. I have to process those because I had just shut it down. Emotionally, I shut it down because I didn't grow up in a like, you just didn't show emotion in our family at all. You just don't. And if you did, you'll be made fun of. That's just the way it was. So that's why I'm closed off in my heart, because I had to. Because that was the only way to be. So, but now I thank them because they really showed me what I wasn't, but yet they showed me what dwelled inside me. And so a lot of these things came from my parents. It didn't have anything to do with me. And it's good to acknowledge this. I can't believe the sun isn't up yet. Well, I guess it's trying, but now it's foggy. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about is, just try to get to a place, if you can, try to get to a place where you're able to thank someone. Just pick someone who has done you wrong and say, thank you for doing this to me because it showed me this. Try to find a lesson in that you can take from it. And this is how you start to lessen that that burden of hate and a sadness that you hold. That mainly there's anger there. If anything, there's anger, because you're suppressing the original emotion. So what's going to be there is anger. So try to thank them for something, and notice how your anger will release just a little bit. And the more you come to terms with it, it will release a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then you get to a point where you don't hate them at all. You just don't. The only thing that's left is the pain. That's what's left. That's what's left to deal with. And, oh, that's a nice suit. I have a great suit like that. I don't know if I can fit it like that, though. It's been a while. Okay, so, as you acknowledge that someone who hurt you actually helped you to grow or to see something, even if it's to see that's not who you want to be, even if it's just that, then you're able to gain something from it. And like I said, the hatred and the anger and all of these other negative emotions, they lift. They start to lift. And like I said, what's left is the pain, the emotion. And then you can get to that point, because if you don't release that anger, like if you don't get rid of the anger part, you won't be able to find the emotions. You have to overcome that anger part first. All right? So everyone, I hope you have a wonderful Monday. I am so early today. So early the gate isn't even open to get into the office. Have a wonderful week, and I will try to come up with something tomorrow. That's I want to try to keep it light this weekend. I mean this week. But you know all these ideas come flooding in. Who knows what's going to be next. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon. And always know that you are loved. Bye now.